How's Adriano looked since he's come back?
He's done some good things and some bad things, but his energy has been outstanding. His leadership has been off the charts, and Chris would probably be a better one to talk to about actually how he's graded out, but it's been a pleasure for us to have.
Is this a week where his leadership comes in extra handy, seeing as he's played in big games in Montreal and against the Alouettes?
Yeah, him and there's a bunch of guys here, him and JY and Ricky, and there's 10 guys probably that have that type of experience, if not maybe in the Big O, but we're going to have to lean on those guys. They'll have to show the way as they always do, and when things get tough, those are the guys that have to step up and bring you back.
How much does pumping the sound in help?
I don't know. In Saskatchewan, we had to travel every day, so we didn't get to do it, but it doesn't hurt. It gets you used to a little bit the atmosphere you're going to be in. It's definitely going to be loud, and just the communication and personnel and things like that are going to have to be signaled, so it doesn't hurt.
Did you find, though, when you were in Montreal, Scott, on that staff, that it affected your guy, the Owls, as well, even though they're at home?
It did a little bit, yes. There was some times where crowd noise was a little bit of an issue when they were on offense, so I don't know if that's been rectified or not, but there's a couple of short yardage situations I remember where it got louder than we wanted to when I was there.
Do we make a big deal about the fact that it's a home game for Montreal and the crowd's behind them, or can you take them out of the game with a big score right away?
It's always an advantage, I think, when you're playing at home, but it's by no means giving you any guarantees. And we've been a good road team, and I think our guys feel good about that. And just the continuity and the bonding that our guys seem to get when they go on the road and stay in a hotel like we did before this home game last week, it seems to help us focus a little bit.
When people talk about Montreal, they think about AC first and the talent up front. You're dealing with their defense. What's the toughest part of the Montreal defense?
They give you a ton of different looks for the offensive line. They blitz guys from all over. They play a number of different cuts. They're just very multiple in what they do, and so you guys really have to be on cue as to who they have and what routes to run versus certain coverages, and they do enough and a lot of things to disrupt you, but the number one thing they do is they hit the quarterback, so that'll be our primary.
Over the course of the season, there wasn't much talk about Emery because people were focused on Sheridan Big Hill out west, and yet Shea ends up with 2 award nominations. How good is Emery compared to some of the other guys in the league?
I've thought for a couple years that Shea is an underrated player, Canadian or no Canadian. He's very aggressive, very intense, very smart, instinctive. I'm not into comparing guys, but Shea is certainly a very, very good football player, and has done a good job for them, obviously.
Scott, someone who knows the personnel as well as you do in Montreal, I know you're going to be asked this quite a bit this week, but what advantage, if any, do you think you got going into the game?
I don't think I have any. League this small, everybody kind of knows everybody by this point in the season, and I have some idea of what their guys are capable of, but I think that's the case with everybody in the league after you play them 3 or 4 times, so I don't think it's going to be an issue.
For you personally, is there some excitement? How are you feeling about going back in Montreal in a playoff game at the Big O?
I haven't had a lot of time to consider what that's going to feel like. This is a game that we expected to be in no matter where it was at, and I'll be looking forward to the opportunity. It's bigger than just because it's Montreal. I mean, this is a chance to go where we've talked about going all season, so the focus is going to be on the game and not the nostalgia, I think.
Scott, I'm not going to ask you to compare Ricky to AC, but when playoff time comes, what does Anthony do to raise his level of a game? Because you've been there for 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know if Anthony ever raises his level. His commitment to preparation is unbelievable, whether it's week 1, week 18, or the Grey Cup. And I heard Ricky saying a similar thing last week. They asked him about his routine, and he said, "I don't change a thing." And I think they're similar in that way. And I think it's the only way you can be a great quarterback week in and week out is if you prepare the same way. So certainly there's a little bit more pressure, there's more at stake, but I don't think Anthony prepares any differently than he would for a regular game.
And obviously he's not going to be under any more pressure than he is any game because he's used to this.
Well, I mean, I think there's a little bit of a difference there. It was the same thing I talked about last week. Coaches, players, they all understand the losing you're out kind of deal. So there's a little bit more urgency, I think, relative to your focus and you know the dynamics of what happens if you're not able to win the game. So I think there is more pressure. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But he himself and that team have been through this so much that you know I think they're going to be relatively comfortable.
Walter Spencer brought a bit of veteran savvy to your special teams.
Certainly,
Yeah.
Walter has been a great addition, just like that guy. He's a very physical special teams player. Another guy that's been there has won Grey Cups and just helps set the tempo for our special teams.